And there was another person there who I'd never met before, and they heard that I worked in real estate, and they said to me very innocently, "Oh, when are you going to go to uni and get a real job?"
Hey guys, and welcome to Day in the Life podcast. We decided to launch this podcast because we're super passionate about helping other people discover their divine purpose and helping guide them into doing exactly what they're called to do and help them find their potential and passion. Hey guys, welcome to Day in the Life podcast. We are so excited to have you with us. Today we have an awesome guest with us. Her name is Indy, and she's a real estate agent. So our podcast today is about day in the life of a real estate agent. So Indy, we're so excited to have you.
Yeah.
We've been wanting to do this conversation for a while now. So just tell us a little bit about what you do. We know you're a real estate agent. You were telling me off camera before that you're actually a manager. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about like what you do and what that looks like on a daily basis.
So we have a family business in the real estate industry, and I also do a little bit of property development as well. So I guess from the real estate side of things, we have offices across the coast. So day to day, I'll be running appointments, taking people through homes, listing people's houses for sale, and that's sort of the work side of things. But then the managing of the business as well is working with our staff, interviewing people, bringing new people on board, and it's very vast and varied, which is good.
Yeah, okay.
No 2 days are the same.
Yeah.
So with the property development side of things, so like do you guys as a business buy land and build and then sell, or what does that look like?
So it's more just my family and I. So we'll do, it's nothing crazy. It's pretty small scale, but we'll just do some small developments. So things like small townhouses or just single homes that we'll buy and then build a new home and sell. So yeah, that's been something that I've definitely really enjoyed, and having the real estate background has definitely helped to get involved.
How long have you been doing this for?
Officially, I think it's 11 or 12 years now.
Wow.
Which
Both
is a long
property
time.
development and real estate, or primarily?
Not really. I bought my first home when I was 18.
Wow.
So that was
Oh
when
my
that was when we
gosh.
started doing the developing side of things. But I left school in grade 10 to start full-time in the business.
Yep.
That was never my original plan. I had real estate was the last thing on my mind at that time, but that's how it sort of happened. And I got involved through a school-based traineeship in year 9. I saw an opportunity to spend 1 day a week in year 10 in the workplace out of the office. Yeah. And so I took that up, and soon after started working full-time and never looked back.
Was it that you kind of at that age, because you said you never had the intentions to do real estate, was it just that you were like, this would be a good idea to do some kind of work, and then as you started to do it, you were like, I actually really like this? Or like, how did you kind of end up being like committing to it?
That's what I wanted. Well, at the time, I was really driven in sport, and it's something that's still a big part of my life. But at that stage of my life, all I wanted to do was just go to the Olympics. That was my big goal.
That's so good.
That was all that I wanted to do.
Amen.
So when I heard that I could have a day off school, I was like, well, terrific. I can have a day to train. And then I thought, I'll work as well a little bit. Yeah. And then I ended up doing the work and really falling in love with it, and ending up going
That's so
full-time.
funny, because that is so similar to how I got into sleep before being a doctor, was because like at the end of my uni degree, they're like, oh, instead of doing 4 courses, if you're happy with your GPA, you can just do this, and it's just a pass-fail, doesn't count towards your GPA, and you basically just go and work as a sleep scientist. And I was like, that sounds way better than assignments and exams. So I just did it just out of like, kind of like you, like, oh, this will be good for not having to, something else.
Yeah.
And then enjoyed it and ended up getting a job.
I just love the option of a school-based traineeship.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
think it's something that they still offer as well. So
Wow.
it's a good thing for people to look into. And at the time, I didn't hate school by any stretch. I really liked it, and I was still enjoying going to school. And I think a lot of the teachers that I had at the time were saying, oh, you really should go for, at the time, the OP system. You really need to knuckle down and follow that path. But I could get a Cert 3 by working a day out of school in the business every week. And
I just think that's such a good head start, especially because, I mean, I don't know if you heard my testimony on one of like the first episodes, but university, I felt like that was the only route I had, the only option.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I didn't know about school-based traineeships. I didn't know that there was things like TAFE. I didn't know that there were other avenues I could have gone down. So to hear you say this, and you're so successful now, like looking at you, it's like, that's so cool. Like you left at grade 10 and then you just went straight into real estate.
Full-time, yep.
Yeah.
How was your like family? So for instance, if I told my family I want to leave school in year 10, they would have been like, they would have freaked out.
Mum did a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
I think
How was
especially
that?
because it wasn't at the time. I wasn't leaving to go. I wasn't headstrong committing to the business, being like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. All I wanted to do was sport at the time. So she definitely was a big driving factor in, you can leave, but you have to work.
Yes.
Whether it's in the business or something else, studying, whatever it might be. You can't just drop school and just chase this dream of sport. You've got to have something to back you up and
fall back on.
Yeah, that's right. But the more that I got involved in the business, the more that I loved it, and I haven't looked back. It's been a real blessing.
Okay. Wow.
And was that what sparked the, sorry, you?
Yeah, I was going to say, and you're still stuck at your sport. Like you're still doing that. You're still competing. You're still very into it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's something that's a big part of my life still, and I haven't made it to the Olympics, obviously.
It's triathlon, though, isn't it? It's run, bike,
running,
swim,
swimming, riding, triathlon.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm still really passionate about, and I'm still competing, and I don't think that I've found my edge in that space yet. I'm still keen to push it as far as I can. So we'll see
Did
how
you
it goes.
find, like, let's say someone wants to get into real estate and so on, but maybe they do have a hobby or something else that they love to do with their time. Is real estate kind of a career where they can balance those two tensions okay? For instance, trying to do medicine, unfortunately, and do anything else
Probably not
is
medicine.
pretty rough.
Yes.
But it's not impossible, but it's a stretch. But do you find real estate that might be something that someone can be like, hey, I can work 4 days a week or 3 days a week, or does it have to just be full-time and take up your life?
I think the more that you put in, the more that you'll get out.
True.
And the more time that you put in, the more that you'll be financially rewarded as well. But we have people that work for us as paramedics part-time.
True.
And even just mums and dads that find that the flexibility that the industry offers allows them to do the school run in the morning, come into work, go and get the kids in the afternoon.
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
You definitely can balance if you're happy to earn maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
And then you might have another job on the other side as well. So the flexibility is something that definitely really works for me.
Yeah.
But it's it can work for other people as well.
I love that. You put in what you get out.
Yes.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, basically.
It's a commission.
You get out what you put in.
It's a commission-based industry for salespeople.
Right.
A lot of people will really only get paid if they sell a house. So
True.
the commissions there can be anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 plus per sale. So if you work really hard, then you will get rewarded. But it is hard work, and you do have to put it in.
Yeah. So let's say someone comes in. So Dr. Land, it's you finish medical school, you do internship, you be a resident, you go and be a reg somewhere, and then eventually become a consultant. So the pathway is very straightforward. But in real estate, obviously you don't just walk in and you're the one selling the $1 million house and getting the crazy big commission or whatever. Like, how does that kind of work? If someone wants to do real estate, they've come out of school, like, where does it kind of, what's the entry look like, and how do you scale up that kind of
journey?
ladder,
It's
so to
different
speak?
for everybody. There's lots of ways that you can get involved. For me, because I was so young, I just started on reception. But that's not an age thing either. I would encourage people to get a feel for the industry before they go launching themselves into sales, and doing some admin or property management is a great way to get a foot in the door and just get a bit more of a well-rounded approach, a whole picture of the industry before you go launching yourself into sales. So, but leaving school, it's a very easy, it's almost too easy to get your qualification. It's just a few days in a classroom.
Really?
And then you've got your license and you're good to go. But yeah.
That's the license to sell real estate?
Correct. Yes.
True.
I wanted to ask you this. Is real estate more of like a solo job, a solo effort, or is it a team-based environment?
It's a good question. I think it depends on what area you're specialising in, and it depends on the office or the brand that you're working for as well. So I think if you're working in admin or property management, there can be more of a team aspect, but sales is very much an individual sport, and
I've heard it's pretty like dog eats dog.
It really is.
Yeah, someone described it in those words. I'm like, what does dog eats dog mean? I had to Google it. It just means really competitive, right?
It really is, but I think
Wow.
when it's disappointing, but it's just, I guess, a fact that money does often bring out the worst in people, and when you're dealing with that much money on the line, it does bring out people's true colours. So
True.
I'm glad that I don't have any enemies, certainly not within our business, but
You're
not
too
within
beautiful.
any
She's too
others on
kind.
the coast as well. But I know, like some other agencies, even here on the coast, the agents in the same office, where from the outside looking in, you would think that they're on the same quote unquote team, but they're undercutting each other and sniping listings from each other because it's just the nature of the industry. It is very competitive.
What do you think kind of protects you from that? Is it that you've come in being like, just have core boundaries of integrity and honesty and Like, has it been a wrestle to keep those? Have you felt kind of the pull to be like, oh, if I nick up this person and do this, I can make this? Or have you just been like, no, whether I make money or not, I'm just going to be like this? Or
I think I've been pretty able to be true to myself and stay true to my own values, because I think if you don't know what your values are, then you won't be able to hold firm to them. But I'm definitely really seated in knowing what I believe in, and it makes it easier to stick to when I know what it is. But for someone else who might not have those same values, then it would be very easy. It's a slippery slope to just be
get caught up
chasing the dollars and get caught up in it very easily.
True. So you were saying you manage the business side of things, which means you obviously interview people.
Yes.
If someone was wanting to get into the industry, what should they be looking to, say, have in terms of experience on their resume, or what things do you look for in interviews that would make someone stand out for getting a job?
It's less about the experience and more about the person, I think, for me, especially because I didn't have any experience at all when I started. So it's not about age for me. I'm happy to take on people that are very young or very old as well. Life experience definitely helps. You don't have to get started when you're super young to be successful. Having some life experience behind you will definitely help you to manage the tougher situations. But
do you find that you mentor people and just take them under your wing and just teach them bit by bit?
I try to, definitely. Yeah. I think when I'm looking, like you said before, Isaac, when you're looking at different traits that when you're interviewing people, I like to try and find people that are coachable and can take instruction.
That helps.
Teachability. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Teachability is massive.
It is. So if you're the sort of person that can take instruction and correction well, then you'll do well. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there, so on the flip, is there any red flags that you'd be like?
Arrogance.
Pride comes before the fall.
Definitely. But I think you've really got to be going back to the values that we were talking about before. You've got to have those nailed down for yourself, because otherwise you really you'll get sucked right in, and industry will just swallow you up and eat your life.
Because I mean, looking from the outside in, a lot of the success in the industry would come from good client rapport and building those relationships where you can trust the person that you're helping and they can trust you.
Yes.
And that's right, isn't it? Like that's how you would build a reputation over time.
And a lot of my business now, because I've had a few years in the industry, comes from referrals and repeat business. There's people that I've sold properties for many, many times. So that's something that is good to be able to do, but you wouldn't be able to do that if you're just burning every client.
Yeah, that's right.
It's good to have that.
Like, because obviously social media advertising, those things are so big, and even me just like dipping my little toe into business land, it's also foreign to me. And it just seems like you could have the worst product, but if you advertise really well, it can do really well. But in terms of real estate, would you say most of that, do you need a big social media presence, or is it more word of mouth? Is it more like referrals from?
Interesting question, because for me personally, I don't have any social media, personal or business. We do have a company account, but even that's lacking a little bit, just because my dad and I are just dinosaurs, really. But I think when you think about the reasoning behind your social media advertising for the real estate industry, I think a lot of it is just brand awareness. So for me, I would rather put time and resources into brand awareness in a more tangible way. So we sponsor community park runs, some local sporting groups, things like that.
Cool.
And I think for me, I would rather have people have the brand awareness through more of a personal experience, seeing our flag at their kids' soccer on a Saturday, instead of scrolling through Facebook and going, oh, there's that real estate agent again, and keeping on scrolling. I think it's more about a personal connection. So
I love that. I remember playing OzTag, and we had it was a brand new cafe just opened, and that was our sponsor, and that was like it was Your Place Cafe at the time, Lullaby. And that was awesome. I didn't even know that the cafe existed. And then everyone was like, oh, what's that? And we got to all go and hang out after. Have coffee.
That's awesome.
All together as a team. So I love that. So because we're obviously living in such a social media heavy world now. So it is really refreshing to hear that, because you are so driven, successful, disciplined. You can see it all through you. But you don't even have social media.
I don't.
So I love that so much that, you don't have to have it. And
totally. You don't need social media to be successful.
Yeah.
No, you don't need it. And I think that's not to say that it's not important, because a lot of agents still do really well from it. But I think if you're the sort of person that isn't as drawn to it like myself, I'm just not, then you can still do really well just by creating relationships with people and doing it a bit more old school.
Yeah. We loved watching this show called Lux Listing Sydney.
Yes.
When
Have you
first
watched
came
it?
out.
I have honestly never watched an episode.
Oh, there you go.
Really?
However, no, keep going.
So we just like really enjoyed it. Not so. I mean, it was. You could kind of tell bits of it were fake because it's meant to be like a reality TV show.
Yes.
But you could tell that a little bit was staged. But we just loved watching like all the houses.
love the
they walked
houses,
through
yeah.
it. But you really could see like amongst the relationships that little bit
The
of
nature
like,
of real estate.
yeah, the
Yes.
nature of it. And I mean, that's like look, that's the only experience I really have with real estate is like the shows that I watch. Would you agree or disagree that it's, I mean, because you haven't seen it, you probably wouldn't know. You could probably have a guess
have
though.
a bit of an idea.
A bit of an idea. Like, would you say that it's like that in real life or not really?
It's not. No, I think those
Yeah.
shows have a lot to answer for. And when I'm interviewing people and ask them, what do you like about the industry or what's drawn you into having an interest, they'll often say, I just love selling Sunset or I just love Lux
Yes.
listings. And I just think, oh, you've got the wrong idea.
Wrong
because
perception.
That's just not what it's
Wow.
like.
Yeah.
And I think
So
a lot of
interesting.
days, especially in the early days, if you're doing a job properly and you're working in sales, you're really just a glorified telemarketer. You're just making the calls. It's a lot of rejection, it's a lot of
Right.
confrontation. So there's no long boozy lunches.
Yeah.
And if there are, then you're probably not doing the work that you should be.
Yeah.
to do
okay.
well.
So a lot of it is like volume, just
Yep.
calls, sales, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
How does someone kind of stay motivated through that? I guess obviously income's a big motivator for many. But would you say for you it was just like this like kind of hunger to succeed, or did you have kind of a few goals like I really want to sell this kind of property, or was it like financial goals that drove you, or what would you say that kind of inner ticker was for you?
I think it was a mix of probably everything.
Yeah, okay.
The industry is that I like the fact that you can earn as much or as little as you want. It really is up
Yeah,
to
that's
you.
cool.
The number on your group certificate is there's no one else to blame. Like we were saying before, it's an individual
Yeah.
sport. It's up to you
Yes.
to really put the team together yourself. And if it's just you, then it's just you. And make it happen for yourself.
That's actually, it's funny because your athlete background, I can see how that kind of merges with real estate, because I think one of the appeals to me, like I play soccer, which I love the team sport environment, but I also love things like say running or whatever, because you can't be like, oh, that guy made that mistake that led to us losing, or and like you're saying with your income, like it is what you get out what you put in.
Yes.
And I think for a person who's quite driven, self-motivated, etc., then this could be a really good industry for them.
It is. And there's no limit on your income. You can earn as much as you want. So
Yeah.
you can get really well financially rewarded if you put in the work.
I mean, that was an eye-opener for me. Like, I'm in such a secure sphere, like different when I say you're in private medicine or something, but in the public sphere, whether you see twice as many patients as the other guy or not, you get paid the exact same.
Yes.
Which, if I really think about it, is not very motivating. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it comes down to then the internal drive to just be like, I want to see more patients because I want to learn more, so on. But you do lose a bit of that incentive, definitely. So I guess that's an appeal for me. Even hearing about real estate, I'm like, I feel like I would really enjoy it.
What kind of like person wouldn't enjoy real estate? Like
A lazy person.
Yeah, that's straight away. I was like, yeah,
Someone who just, when you do like a team project or a group project, if you're at uni or school and there's that
person's
person
like,
who's
nah.
just sitting in the back,
Bludgeon
just
it.
chilling,
Yeah.
that's the person that's not going to do well.
yeah. But in saying that, I feel like that's the kind of person that if they're self-aware of that they're like, hey, I'm someone that just likes comfort. I like my stable paycheck. I like
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with that. It's
It
just
doesn't-
finding the right sphere to utilize that
Correct.
in
Yeah.
and thrive in, not
Definitely.
real estate.
Because I feel like, working in sales, you have to be that motivated, driven person.
Yes.
You have to be a go-getter.
do.
And you have to, I guess, be kind of like your own boss in a little way. Like you have to
Keep yourself accountable and
instead of someone else kind of just being on your back,
Yeah.
telling you what to do, working the same hours, getting the same pay. Like it's really, you can go somewhere with this if you try.
Yeah.
I love that.
One question I guess I have is, so you bought your first house at 18. Like what age did you go, I want to buy a house soon? And then like what kind of steps did you take in that? Was it someone helped you set up a budget? Like how did you kind of go about making that happen? Because obviously so many people
so mind-blowing.
so many people are in that zone of trying to buy a house, whether they're 18 or they're 30 or whatever. Do you have any kind of like tips or things that could help people, or what did you do in that season?
Yeah.
I'd say for people that are looking to get into the market, just don't be afraid to take a small first step. It might just be a small townhouse or a small unit, but it'll help you get into the market and get some equity and build from there. But for me, I'm not under any illusion that I definitely had a leg up because of my family and my parents and their wisdom.
In terms of what habits they gave, or in terms of what you were able to?
Just in terms of the guidance that they had for
Yes.
me around, I would not have any idea of how to develop. We did a small development here in Maroochydore, just a couple of townhouses, and I wouldn't have had any idea how to go through that process without them. But they've done it before, so they were able to really walk me through it. And yeah, that was a real blessing to have them to help me get all the steps lined up and make it happen.
Good.
Yeah,
You're so
okay.
humble.
Would you find, so let's say your parents aren't real estate agents,
Yes.
etc. Is there any people that you would say people who kind of want to step into that sphere can find a mentor, or is it just trying to find someone who's in that zone and trying to learn from them? Or?
I would definitely say both. Even just getting around people like town planners, if you're looking at doing some development, a lot of them will have information nights and things like that you can go along to learn about the different zoning and different things that you can do in different areas. So there's lots of information out there if you're willing to get out there and put yourself out there. And like you were saying before, the mentorship side of things, most people would be more than happy to have you in for a day a week just to learn, or even if you're not looking to actually work in the industry, just to learn and do your own developments. There's opportunities there too.
That's interesting. My brain's swirling because I'm like, I remember setting up a patient for a sleep study once, and he was 45 and like fully retired. And he was a electrician, I think. But then early on in his electrician kind of apprenticeship and work life, met a property developer, became a friend with him, and then started to develop property with him while he still did his electrical work.
Yep.
And then just started to do very well in the property development side, and very quickly was like, I don't actually need to work because he just did so well. And now he just develops property because he enjoys it. But he doesn't need to work, and he's 45, which is crazy. But that's awesome.
I love that you've had parents to help guide you in
Yes.
that area a little bit. For me, I feel like I've never, I mean, until I met Isaac, I didn't really know the first thing about like buying houses, but we're kind of going through that process now. Like we want to buy a house, and so we're looking at our finances, and we're just trying to take these small steps, and we have options. Like we have, you know, like you said, it's good to get a foot in the door and buy something smaller first, and you know, don't despise those small beginnings.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I've learnt the most ever about housing and real estate now than in my whole life, and I'm 29.
Yeah.
Like, would you say buying a house now looks a lot different to what it looked like 20 years ago, 10 years ago?
I think the process is still the same.
Right.
And maybe the gap is a little bit bigger. I know the cost of living now is a lot higher. It is very high at the moment, but that can make it a little bit harder. But the process is pretty similar.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think so as well.
That's
I think
encouraging.
one of the biggest, I guess, blessings in your sphere, but challenges for many, is that it's not something you're really educated on at school
No, that's right.
at all.
Yeah.
And even we were talking about, like, unless, from my experience, unless you have a very specific goal and plan with going to uni, I would say it's very quickly losing its appeal, because incurring unnecessary debt just for the sake of a degree that you may potentially never use to get a job. Like even my HECS debt, which I needed to get to do what I'm doing, we're even noticing is still a hindrance for us stepping into the market.
Yeah.
Like there's no necessarily such thing as good debt, but these are important things to think about when you're young, because if you just kind of go with the flow and don't think about these things, you can kind of quickly come out the other end and you've finished a degree that you never use and you've got a debt. And you're like,
like being at uni and someone's like, oh no, you don't have to pay for it all up front. You just do the HECS debt, and then you don't have to pay. You don't have to think about it until you're earning enough money. But I do have to think about it. Who lied to me? Who did
It all
this?
comes out in the wash.
it's true.
It's so funny. I was having dinner with some friends the other week, and there was another person there who I'd never met before, and they heard that I worked in real estate, and they said to me very innocently, oh, when are you going to go to uni and get a real job? And I thought, oh, look, and they didn't mean it in a bad way, but I think that definitely speaks to the stigma that still exists, that you have
Which
to go
is
to
crazy.
university to get a degree and get a real job. But I think that when people are looking at that next step for them, it's so important to just try and define what success looks like for you, because for that person, they obviously value the degree over what the actual success might be. But for a lot of people, that success, unfortunately, or it can be just money. but that's not
Yeah.
how I would define success. And I think that's because I've just had so much exposure to people with such extreme wealth.
Wow.
But they're often the saddest people going through just the most toxic relationship breakdowns and health challenges and things, just like the working class people who face the same set of challenges but are often the happiest people. And they're just trying to scrape by with enough money to pay their rent and hopefully have enough left over for some Maccas on the weekend.
Yeah.
They're happy and they're succeeding in whatever they're doing. And so I think money doesn't solve all your problems, and money isn't all that success is. So if you can just define what success is for you, then you can build your life around that, and it'll be a lot better off than just trying to chase the perception of being successful by having a degree and being miserable.
That's a microphone drop.
That's so good.
That's
like, no, there's so many good bits to that.
I know,
like,
right? So good.
if you can predefine success, like you said, that's going to save you so much time
and heartache and all of it.
Exactly. If you go with what the world says is success, and then you get it and you realize it's not success, that's terrible. Especially if you've wasted 5 to 10 to 20 years getting that.
Yeah.
And then you get there and you're like,
well, now
this
what's
is not
next?
now exactly.
I'm not fulfilled.
But if you predefine it and you're like,
exactly. Like,
well, if you're like, okay, for me, a family, stable income where I'm not worried about money, but I'm also not hyper fixated on it. Like, if you can predefine those things and then work out how to get there in whatever sphere that is, whether it's uni, not uni,
whatever it might be,
then at least you can have clear vision. To even think that someone's like, when are you going to go to uni and get a real job? I'm like, oh my God, some of the most financially successful people like you that I know didn't even go to uni. And I'm like, okay, I've gone to uni again for a reason and so on, and I'm blessed to be able to do that. And I love what I do.
Fine.
But I feel like if I didn't go there to be a doctor, there's so many amazing things you can do that do not require uni. Actually, I would say the majority, a lot of things that you can do without needing university, and to think that mindset's still there. I'm like, I want this podcast to pull that down.
The best, yes, 100%. The best thing about that comment was, I just imagine you reacting to that and just being like, yeah. Yeah.
I think I just said, I'm quite content with what I'm doing now. I don't think I'll go to uni. And they were just sort of, oh, okay. But some people are going to be like that. You're not going to. I think that's people's perception of you is something that I've definitely struggled with a lot as well. When I first started, I was so concerned about, and that was, I think, mostly because of my age. I was worried about people not wanting to work with me because I was so young. Right. And I think that's something that I still come up against now. But you can imagine 10 years ago it was a lot worse because I was 10 years looking even younger. I remember I would pull up to open homes and I would get there early so I could take my P plates down off my car so that people wouldn't see how old I was.
That's so awesome.
To the point where I just ditched them completely and I just prayed that I never got pulled over.
Did you ever get pulled over?
No, thank the Lord.
What a blessing.
I know. Very lucky. But
that's so funny.
I had to really come to grips with the fact that I was enough as I was even 10 years ago when I was even so much younger than I am now, and just really get rooted in who I was and be okay with that.
Wow, and it's such a testament to you. Like, it's so cool. It's so young, yet you're doing the thing. Like, did you find that people would like second look at you, second get and
all
be
the
like,
time.
Are you running this show?
Yes. People would often ask me where the agent was. They say, where's the agent or who's running the open home? And it would be me there by myself.
Wow.
So it was tough.
It tells you though that like age is not necessarily experience. Experience is experience.
That's right.
Like you could be 30 with 1 year experience in real estate, or you could be someone like yourself who's 25 and has had almost 10 years or whatever at that point.
Correct. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it kind of tells me as well to do my best to not judge a book by its cover and to never underestimate. It happens in medicine all the time. You meet the most phenomenal person and you're like, oh, this person must be like an intern or whatever, like in terms of how they look, but they're like a consultant and they're 30 and you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Like, but it's hard because people do have those perceptions. But is there any certain home or anything that you just love to like take people through? Like, you like a real like property with a great view kind of person, or well, like what's your kind of flavor of?
I think if you ask any agent that, they'll say the $20 million beautiful waterfront mansion, and that's naturally, of course, those homes are definitely they're something that I love to take people through. But I think it's probably, this is going to sound really cheesy, but it's more about the different types of people than it is the different types of property, because the properties they are what they are, but the different types of people is so special. It's not something that I take for granted, being able to be a part of people's journey, whether
That's
they're
cool.
buying their first
Do you
home.
mean the
or-
people that you're walking through the house, or the
Both.
people
So
that are selling the house?
All of it. So the sellers, you're much more involved in the seller's journey, but the buyers that you meet as well, helping them through whether it's first home buyers or people looking to buy their last home ever. It's it's
So
a
would you
journey
say
for
the
everybody.
kind of the person who's very relational, likes people,
Yes,
they're the kind of ones that would succeed in real estate?
definitely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Wow.
It's you've really got to read what people need from you, and you'll get, if you are in the industry, you end up in the middle of very messy divorces and people
Wow.
who are very in ill health, people who are, and then there's happy ones as well. So people buying their first home or they're upgrading their home or whatever they might be doing. But you've really got to be able to be, I guess, emotionally intuitive to see what that person needs from you and try and get on their level and help them through it.
Wow, that's
love
awesome.
that.
Would you say then working in real estate has been a part of your maturing journey as well and has taught you a lot?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I'm in similar cases where I've been put in situations at work where kind of in the moment you're sort of just not thinking about it, but you step back and you're like, well, that was pretty intense.
Pretty
like,
heavy stuff.
Yeah, and then you start to think about it and it slowly can either make you or can slowly grind you away. But do you have anything, would you say, obviously sport's an outlet for you, but do you have anything else that helps you kind of cope with the stress of it all and
Pressure even.
pressure of it all? And
I think working with my dad is a huge part of it. So we run the business together, and yeah, we're very, very close. I know it's not for everybody working with your parents, but it definitely works for us, and we're very close, and we are managing day-to-day stuff together. There's a lot of stuff that we're involved in together. So just talking it through with him is definitely an outlet, and the sports side of things is good to just be completely separate and having different people around me as well. So not just having people at work, having people that I train with as well that have no idea really the depth that I'm involved in at work.
Yes.
And they don't really know what I'm doing. They just know me as the athlete. And then the people at work just know me as the real estate agent. So being
cool.
able to keep things a little bit separate is
That's good.
nice.
Do you
Yeah.
have any siblings?
I have two younger sisters.
Are they in real estate?
They yes and no. So my younger sister Mackenzie, she went full time in the business as well. She's taking a gap year at the moment now, and Jakarta is at uni and she's part time. So they've both come and gone, and yeah, we'll probably continue to do so.
Wow.
something that I love that you said before is like, money doesn't necessarily make you happy. And obviously you've been around extremely wealthy people
Yes.
who are miserable.
Correct.
I've heard this quote that money won't fix your problems. It just makes you more of whatever you are. Like, would you agree or enhances what you are? Or what are your kind of thoughts around money and people and fixing problems and that kind of thing?
I think there's no denying that if you have money, it does make it easier. I'm not going to say that it doesn't, because it does. If you've got problems or if you're unwell, then having money will help you get the best medical treatment, but it might not cure you. So
Yeah.
I think that, there's a balance between both. But as far as your happiness goes, like you said, the wealthiest people are often the saddest people. And
Do you find like you walk, because you're a professing Christian, right? You believe in God.
I do.
Do you find that you walk away from some conversations and just go like, God, I'm just so glad I know you. I'm just so glad I put my hope in you. And because, you see these wealthy people and maybe they don't know God and they don't have that, because you're talking about fulfillment before. And it's like, what at the end of the day, we could die tomorrow.
Correct.
Like, and it's all gone. And for what?
yes.
So it's just like, do you ever find yourself walking away and just being like, oh God, help them, like
All the
pray
time.
for their salvation?
All the time,
and-
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think that's when you said before, what outlets do I have? I think just knowing, having a deeper rooted sense of my own identity helps me to cope with those trickier situations. And not that people are defamatory, but you do get a lot of rejection and abuse, and just being able to come back and just completely decompress is a good outlet in that respect as well.
Yeah. Were you from a Christian family or?
Kind of. So growing up, my mum's parents were actually pastors.
True.
So that was when we were in Tassie. They
Ooh,
had a church
wow.
there. Yeah. Then they eventually moved here and planted a church here as well, but it's not still going at the moment. But yeah, I did have a bit of a Christian upbringing, which was
Christian roots there.
And then
Yeah.
how old were you when you kind of found like faith in God? And
probably in my early teens. I would say I
Okay.
really found it for myself then.
Yeah, wow. I feel like that's why, India, you are just so humble. You
Yeah.
can be in this industry and you can remain integrous.
Yes.
You can remain pure and like genuine relationships. And I love it. I love it so much, because when you look at these like series on TV and I guess the wider perception of real estate, it is the opposite of you.
That's a good
Like,
thing.
you
I'm
know
glad
what I
you think so.
Yeah.
Like, you're so beautiful in and out and so
you.
successful in this industry. Like, it is an honor to have you on this show. Like,
Yeah,
we've
no,
been
I
so excited
totally
to have
agree.
you on here.
Like, honestly, to how humble you are and genuine and like amazing at what you do, yet you don't gloat it, pasting it all
You
over
don't
social
boast
media.
it. You don't have to
just
prove it.
But that's a blessing to us, and I think such a inspiration to so many people coming in that they're like, I can come into this industry, maintain my integrity, do well,
Yes.
thrive without having to compromise all of these things to succeed. And
You're an incredible role model.
Yeah,
so,
I love
and
it.
like when you're hiring people, I bet you like people would just love to work under you. I feel
I
like
agree.
I
I
just
hope
feel
so.
like
I feel like
people
I
would
would
get to
love Indy
work.
as my boss.
I know. I feel like people would get to work and be like, freaking love my job.
I hope so. I
get
think
encouraged.
our company is definitely more relaxed than some of the other
Yeah.
companies on the coast and in
bet.
Australia wide as well. We're very come as you are. It's okay if you want it, like we were talking about before. If you've got kids, drop them off. Go to their soccer game. Go and
That's
watch
so
them
good.
at their school, whatever it might be. So there's a lot of flexibility there, and we love to just try and facilitate a workplace where people are happy,
Yeah.
first of all, and also give them the tools and skills that they need to earn as much money as they want to. So
Yeah.
it's really up to them to find that balance.
I love it because I feel like from top down, you guys have brought in what you've defined as success into the culture of your business in terms of success isn't just how much money, how big can we get this business,
Yes.
but it's actually family and your
Yes.
kids being happy. And money's an aspect of that, but it's not everything.
Yeah, and
And
I
I
think a
love
lot of our growth has been almost by accident now. We really have. We started just as one small office in Sippy Downs in 2010, and we really have expanded since then. But that was never, my dad, Justin, that was never his vision at the time. It was just to have the office and the small team of 6 or 7 that we had at the time. And it has snowballed since then.
Yeah.
But it's been a blessing.
And you're all over the Sunshine Coast.
We are. So everything on the coast is us. And then we have some franchised offices in Brisbane.
Cool.
We're spanning north to Emerald and Harvey Bay as well. So
Come
we're-
on.
yeah,
Amazing.
it's
I would tell
stretch.
people where they can find you, but
everywhere.
you're not on social media, but they can
Website.
call Bloomin'.
On Google.
You can, look, if somebody wants to get in touch with me, my number is all over the internet, so they can
Okay.
quite easily do that.
Perfect.
They can quite easily
Google.
do
Well, if
that.
there's any
Indianna
young
Voss.
budding real estate agents that are keen, maybe they can have a
Happy
look at
to chat.
Blue Moon, and
More
that'd
than
be
happy
cool.
to chat.
That'd be awesome. Anything else you want to say, Bob?
Last thing, because I know we've probably got a lot of high school students, maybe middle school students listening to this right now. In simple terms, like what would you think is, if they're, say, grade 11 right now and they're like, oh, I'd love to get into real estate, and that's really the only avenue like they're thinking of right now, what would you say is the best pathway in to doing that?
Before you even get to the pathway, I would want them to think about why. Why are you drawn to real estate? Because if it's just for money, and if that's a part of it, then that's okay. But I think you've got to have some other motivating factors as well. So really just sit down and think about why am I drawn to this and work that out for yourself. And once you've got that base, then getting into the industry, I would say you can look around and try and find an agent that you feel you can relate to, that's doing well and is successful is obviously important as well. You don't want to just pick anybody. And most people will be very happy to have somebody on in like a mentorship capacity. You might go around with them on a Saturday and just watch them do their open homes and get a feel for the industry that way and see if you like it first. But as far as getting into the industry goes, it's very simple. You just need your real estate license. You have to be 18 to get that.
Right.
And you can do that just by sitting for 3 days in a classroom and making sure you get all the answers right. But it's almost too easy to get your license.
Right.
The hard work comes after you've got your
After.
qualification. And
Yeah. Kind of feel
Okay.
like that with personal training. You get your Cert 3, Cert 4, and then you're in. You're
That's
a
it.
personal trainer.
You've got to build your own client base.
gotta,
So
yeah.
even if they're in year 11 or 12, they can start building a base then. If it's their friend's parents or their swimming coach or whoever it might be, just starting to network and build their own base. And people, I find, just like to deal with people that they like and that they know and that they trust. So
True.
the more people that they like, know and trust, they can build around them, that's going to have a good base to set them up for the future.
Totally. That's cool.
Great.
I love it.
Cool.
We can wrap it up there, but I feel like that was such a blessing for anyone who's keen on that industry, and
Yeah.
there's little nuggets
Bit
in
of
there for
insight
people.
in there. about real estate.
Excellent.
I learn a lot.
Yes, I learned heaps.
I didn't know anything about it, like you. So it's really cool to have you on and just listen to
Thank
your
you for your
heart
input.
behind it
Totally.
and
You're welcome, guys.
why you do what you do. You're so good at it. So thanks for being on the show.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
You can find us on YouTube, all the podcast streaming avenues, all that stuff. And as usual, it obviously helps us, helps the channel to reach other people if you want to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And then hopefully see you on the next episode.